podcast.
Hi, Jonathan. How you doing?
Great. It is so wonderful to have you with me today. I'm excited to talk to you about some really interesting topics and to tap into your expertise and share that with my listeners. To start things off today, I just want to share a brief bio of Susan and then give you a chance to provide any additional introduction that you want, and then we'll just launch into a discussion.
Perfect.
Susan, yeah, great. Susan has 28 years of experience applying behavior to sales, communication, negotiation, and everyday life. She delivers training and consults on human behavior, microexpression, body language, deception detection, statement analysis, face reading, personality types in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. And she is a self-proclaimed human behavior hacker. She does lots of keynotes, corporate training, and has contributed a lot to various media outlets. It's a real pleasure to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
I'm never going to get tired to say when people describe what I do, it's like, wow, that person sounds so cool. I think as a human being, we tend to not, at least certain personalities, like keep going. Like, oh my God, I have our column and try global 2 times a week. Like, oh, now what are we going to put on the column? Well, wait a minute, we need to celebrate. No, we need to work and keep going, going, going. So I always have fun when people describe what I do.
Great. And really, so my first main question for you, as a self-proclaimed human behavior hacker, how would you define that? What does that mean to you when you're trying to help other people understand how you can help them?
Everybody in the company have funny names. All are based on geeky science. Like I'm a huge fan of Star Treks and Star Wars and geeky, like real geeky, to the point that my assistant is human behavior Jedi. He get offended because I think I call him short, but actually he's a good mind. I think that when you need to define yourself, you cannot look yourself in the mirror. So something that I do really often, at least 6 times every 6 months, is I talk to my customers, my friends, and people who just know me and know me since a long, long time ago, and says, I do 3 questions. If you need to describe me or tell other people what I do, what you would say. If you need to sell me to somebody else, what you would say. And if you tell me as a client one pain that I have fixed for you and your company, what it is. And that's how you define, how you know if you change or no. And I have a couple of friends who keep saying, oh, you're hacking minds, you're hacking minds. Like you freaked out people, how you can get in somebody's brain. And like, well, when someone says, well, you're a human behavior hacker. Some people hack computers, you just hack humans. And like, oh my God, that's me. I like it. It's an open question. Everybody, I horrible in networking. So when people says, who are you? And I threw my title. So that way they don't ask any more questions. I don't need to do small talk because the first thing is like, do you what? Like what? So human behavior hacker is helping people to understand, become more humans. I think that information is data and data is power, the power to become humans again. I don't teach you how to manipulate others. I teach you how to avoid 90 days of painful emails and conversations and find out how somebody is in 90 seconds, a minute and a half. Why? I have done it. Actually, I have been tested by other journalists. They says, okay, I'm going to record this because it cannot be true. Or even tell me, you don't know who's going to be interview you until the moment that we do the interview. They're turned as soon on like, okay, before you say anything, I know what you want. That's how you are. And flipping out. And the funny part is I'm not a clairvoyant. I don't have any mystical thing that I went to the Himalaya and spent 5 years eating trees. Like, no, I went to the hardcore. I studied hosting negotiation. I went to Manchester to study with Polygon International. I studied with everyone. I study from interrogation to interview, everything that can be studied. And what I do with all that, instead to take it for me, I teach other people how to do it. For example, when I have, it's funny because I didn't know that people don't do it. Again, that conception that you're in your own bubble of thoughts. When I do a sales training, the first 2 hours of curricula, I put people to watch videos of interrogations of policemen and interrogators, make people confess about any high crime, even killing someone. And some people says, I think we're in the wrong class. Like, nope. If you can learn something for that person, then in 30 minutes make a person confess he killed someone else, that's how you're going to know what your customers want. Because selling is not that you sell me what you want, it's selling me what I need. And sometimes as a customer, I don't have any idea what is my needs. Today, with the crisis that we have, most people is not aware of what they need. They're froze, like fear is froze, run and fight. So people is gonna fight you, people is gonna froze, and people is gonna fly. So helping your customers know what they want based on their needs, that is a gift that we can teach you, because the good sales and the good consulting and the good professional is the one month later, you're not afraid to call your customer and says, how you doing with what I give you, sell you, coach you. And that is the moment of truth when like, you even give me something that I didn't need, I know. You know me so well that even know my thoughts and my needs before I need it. That to me is success. Not the number of check, is that calling one person a month later, that is one of the most frightening things, and say, did I do it right? Is what you needed? And keep my boss happy, because it's what we need to sell too. But we need to find the line, and that line, it need to be taught, is how to read others, how to profile others in a good way.
Yeah, well, that's so interesting. And again, I love the term human behavior hacker. I think that's so cool. And you dispelled, what maybe some people might have as initial fears around that, in terms of manipulation techniques, in terms of things like racial profiling, some of those negative elements that we don't want to promote. But what you're talking about really is reading body language, facial expressions, intonation, really understanding interpersonal interactions in a way that you can leverage to help people, right? Is that
One of the
accurate?
things that I did about face reading, it has nothing to do with culture, race, or age. You can have twins, and we have studied twins. I study with the best on face reading, and I start doing my own research. One of the reasons the company says through research and teaching. What happened in a controlled environment at a university, and you're a professor, and I don't want to sound offensive, it's great because it's a controlled environment. What happened when you put it in real life? And the thoughts on need in real life, you need to test it on research to go back. So it's a circle, never stop. So beside the studies, I did my own studies. I don't have papers, I don't have funding. I just went through thousands of people. What I do on the weekends is go to fairs. I put a little box and says free face reading. And like, why free? Because I'm gonna learn from your face. And I start looking for twins on between 50s and 60s years old. And I found out that even though they're identical twins, they have lines on their face and features on their face that has changed in the last 20, 30 years, and they're based in what happened with their life. The cohort study, it started in 1921, and there were 292 people followed for 83 years. So different researchers were taking the project. And after 83 years, they determined the mouth, eyes, ears, and nose. It's telling the story how your life went, how happy and unhappy, and how much comfort and money and luxury you had or not. So that's when like, oh my God, that's how accurate this is. And again, I always says, it's not 83 months, 83 days, 83 years. Tell me what other study has done in recopilation data for so long. And there were people from different race, different nationalities, and shows that doesn't matter. I have one feature, the Martin Luther King half and Paul Love, who was Russian half. I wish it was the brain. No, it's more simple than. I have a little bump under my nose that it says that you work better in service to others. And again, when I put the picture, it says, no, it's not the brain. Don't worry, I'm not as intelligent as they are, but I did find out there were different race, different nationalities, and with the three do the same. I love to do pro bono. I even sometimes I have complaints on my team because I do too much pro bono, and I enjoy it, and I do it on my weekends in my personal time. Why? Because I want to help people get into the next level. And usually I do it with institutions who bring people from the South Side here in Chicago, or places where they don't have a good income and they don't have the possibility to go to college and take it to the next level. And I teach them basic behavior and how to do it. And that gives me satisfaction. Again, the same pattern, same behavior, same feature, different in every aspect of the life that we have, the three of us.
Yeah, so interesting. So let's apply this to an organizational context. If I'm an organizational leader, how can I use these types of approaches and methods to better understand the people I'm leading, to lead more effectively, to be a better supporter of and empowering them to do their work? How can I better choose, through the hiring process, choose my team, some of these types of elements? How can what you offer help organizational leaders?
First, I think a leader and a manager is not the person who make everybody understand you. Your job and your responsibility is understand your people. We want to be seen. One of the biggest effect that I have when I read someone, it's crying, is like, oh no, the heck, do you know my therapist? Those are the three things, but always is the common denominator. Oh my God, you see me, is nothing wrong with me. And leaders are running and managers are running so fast that obviously you're not going to have a DNA test on each of your employees, but you can divide your people in introverts and an extrovert. You cannot put an introvert 24/7 in a video. You're going to kill him or kill her. So you need to know that about your team. You need to know how much exposure that person have, because you can be burning the best fuel of that person because you put it on the same box. An extrovert is going to be out all day, no problem. Another thing is you need to know if your team is visual, is auditory, or kinesthetic. If they're visual, they're going to be the people who can visualize and give you a good presentation. They're the goods who pair with clients who are asking for certain products and certain things. The auditory people is the one who's going to be listening and paying attention all the time. So if there's suddenly you have an introvert who is a listener in a meeting, they're not going to talk. They're going to be holding the head down because their weight on the words are important. So you cannot point that person that, you know what, you didn't participate in the meeting, like, yeah, and they can recite all the meeting word by word, but because you didn't know that. Another thing, you need to send your agenda on time before a meeting, knowing the time and the topics when you want to work, in this case specifically in a team. Why? Because the introverts, they need to be ready, and the extroverts need to tone down. So as a leader, what I do, and when I have a meeting, we are 19, and I always make fun. Some of them are really cocky male, like they want to talk all the time. So I mute everyone, and they need to raise their hands to talk. So I allow everybody to have their own pace. You can know how people process information. Is people oriented, facts and data, or they're doing research. I'm doing research all the time. My right hand has facts and data. So he is the person who take my obsessive compulsive research disorder, then I need to know everything. I said, Susan, is done. It's an article who have 300 pages. It's a simple 30-minute presentation. We don't need to know if Napoleon had that problem. Stop it. And it's good because he stopped me from procrastination, from overanalyzing, and procrastination by perfection. He punched me and pushed me to go. Funny part, he's in another continent. We never met face to face, but we had 8 meetings face to face in Zoom before they both agree this is going to be a good relationship for both. He did a huge change on career. And I says, I don't want expecting to you to be for 6 months, because I have news for you. After working with us, you're ruined, because you're not going to be able to work with anybody else, because the level of reading and analyzing is different. That's happened with him. He's been with me 6 months, he's ruined already. So as a leader, 3 things that you need to know: how to read your team, how to assign the task. And it's proven that in all the depressions and crises on the story of our United States, depression on the 19th, 9/11, 2008, is the companies who grow. They start, for example, most people doesn't know that Uber, Instagram, Slack started in 2008, worst of the depression. So the companies who grow, they start, and they're become stronger are the ones who stop being pity, stop being crying, let people vent, but look for the next one. Okay, great. We have this. What is going to happen in a week? We don't know. Okay, let's put scenarios and be ready. Support your people and like, okay, I get it that you have a horrible time, but you have a job too. Let's concentrate on what you're going to do next. And Simon Sinek said really good in a podcast that I listened, as one of his employees asked, "I'm going to have a job after this?" And he says, it's not dependent on me. It's depending how fast you can adapt. And it's true. We become animals of adapting to a reality who didn't give us few weeks to prepare. Some people left the office on Monday, 5 p.m. and like, oops, I forgot to water my plant. Don't worry, tomorrow morning I come and I'm going to do it. And next morning, hey, your laptop is going to be delivered to your house. You're not coming to the office. And the truth is 75% of the people are going to stay working at home, because companies, for example, they found out how much money they saving having people working from home. They're more productive, less sick days. Even though in this craziness you have your kids running around, you see your partner 24/7, but most people is moving to the suburbs. They live in the shoebox they live in and having a bigger house, and house selling has been crazy because people is buying houses in the middle of the crisis. Why? Because you need to understand that every crisis have a plateau for growing. Doesn't matter what it is. Adaptation is the one who made us that the cavern man or woman who didn't talk and used sound, and they were catching dinosaurs for eating, to the great meeting with you that you are in another part of the United States and we can have a Zoom. That's called adaptation. And as a leader, that's what you need to show. Every leader that I talk is more afraid even their own employees and their team. But you need to man up and help others to become with an idea. Because when I feel that I'm part of a tribe, I don't want to leave the tribe. So how you treat me, how we work in this moment is going to be the fundamental foundation for tomorrow as a leader and as a company.
Yeah, that's great. There were a bunch of things you said in there that I just want to highlight real quick. One of the things was your assistant and you and how you complement each other, right? So you have different approaches, you have different styles, you have different strengths. So there's things like personality differences, there's things like Strengths Finder, all these different ways that we can help understand the differences between individuals and how they work together as a team, introverts versus extroverts, and so on. All of these are informative to the human condition and understanding human behavior and how we can more effectively interact. And so as a leader, one of the first things I need to do is know my people. I can't know perhaps everything about them. What leaders are busy, right? They're juggling a lot of different things and they're trying to keep things moving forward operationally, and so forth. But they need to know their people. They need to at least have a baseline understanding. And it also isn't rocket science, and it doesn't need to be this tricky type of behavioral analysis to at least know the baseline of how you can better help your people. You just identified several elements that are fairly straightforward that everyone can ascertain pretty quickly without any real special training. And so,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but whose fault is that? People who does what I do, who coach others. Because in order to sell it and sell it more expensive and make me indispensable, I'm making you look like this is weird magic. That's what I'm saying. I didn't was in the Tibet for 80 years eating plants. Like, no, I went to study. I put myself to
Yeah.
study. So it's easy. You can do simple things, but the fault is the other people make it look so complicated that instead to selling a service, making people afraid to have one. And like you
Yeah,
said, very
I think
basic
that's
things.
right. I think that's right. And a lot of it is just comes down to self-awareness, self-reflection, being in the moment, being present, listening, paying attention. These are just basic things that everyone can and should do. Um, we need to check our biases. So many decision makers, particularly leaders, they get into the positions of power that they're in because they've experienced success in the past. They have expertise. They're probably assertive, and they're probably good with people. And so over time, they kind of climb the ladder and they move up, and they find themselves in these new situations where they have the opportunity to make decisions. And what ends up happening, and we know that so many of these executive and leadership types of decisions in organizations are failures, and so often it's because of implicit biases that they're not even aware of, but are informing their decision-making process. And so just simply having enough intellectual humility to take a step back and to realize that I have my own biases, you have your own biases, we all do. And so because of that self-awareness, I'm going to look for evidence to support what I'm with the decisions I'm making, rather than just going with my gut, or just going with a person walks into an interview and within uh, 10 seconds, I make a determination about whether this person's a good fit for the job or not. Those types of determinations are ridiculous. And in fact, there's actually some research that shows that many leaders, it's not the old kind of rule was the 10-second rule. They would say an interviewee comes in within 10 seconds, the leader will make a decision. But now, more recent research with eye tracking and EEGs and some of those types of elements, they find that it's actually like less than a second, a fraction of a second, that people take a look and they make their initial snap judgment based on all their personal biases, and then that ends up unduly influencing the decision, and that's not effective decision making. That's not effective leadership. And so we just need to make sure that we're paying attention, that we're open to new information, new data, that we check our biases, that we listen and to the needs of the people we lead.
Three things that I want to point in what you says is completely right. Sometimes they promote somebody because it's doing a great job, but 60% of the managers that I interview, they don't have any idea how to do the job because nobody explained them. Oh, you're a really great salesperson. You're a manager. With what? I only know how to manage myself. Second of all, I do have a strong opinion about this, and it's my personal opinion about how much you can influence your first impressions. I can be wearing the same perfume of your grandmother, and your grandmother used to slap you. So it doesn't matter how good I am. I smell like her, your brain is going to go ballistic on the memory. Or maybe I have the smell of the first girlfriend who broke your heart or make you happiest person in the world. So what happened with biases is we can do as much as we can to make a good first impression, but at the end of the end, doesn't depend on you. So as a leader, you need to understand where are your bias, where are they coming from? And even though I don't like maybe the person, that person is right for the place that I need to put it. Maybe the things that I don't like about you are the things that the position are required. I
Right.
have worked with people. I work for a political consultant for almost 20 years. And I always work with people that I didn't like. And I remember the person who was representing me says, "You're nuts." Like, no, if I like him, I'm biased because I'm going to approve everything that he or she does. But if I don't like the person, now I'm the majority of the population. And the first thing that I said to the person, I don't like you. I don't like you. I wouldn't vote for you. I don't know what the heck are you doing where you are. But the good news is I'm half of the population. So I can think like them, I can feel like them, and I know how to talk to them. That's what made me good in my job. I hate you. Almost that. And most people look at me like, I'm sorry, you take your meds today? Like, yeah, don't worry. My mom get me tested. I'm normal. I
Yeah.
just saying you and teaching you things that nobody else is going to tell you. And
Yeah.
at the end of the campaign or the work is like, you know what? You was right. It's not about to be right. Is I need the against bias about you so I can see you and see who you are. But in the other hand, I need to control myself as because I don't like this person doesn't mean that everything that person does is wrong. I just need to, instead to make that person fit in a rhetorical box, I need to put the box to adapt to the person. And that's
Yeah.
where some people know as a Clinton box and how to Steve Jobs was the first person using tennis shoes and the turtleneck, so that's how you adapt the rhetoric to the person. You don't modify the person. You made that person adaptable, and you're always going to have people who hate you and love you. And I said in couple interviews, and people says you extremist. Like, I don't have grades. Some people need to understand in life you're not going to have great space. Other people can, should, and want. But other ones, you're going to have people who put you on a pedestal because what you do, and people who's going to deteriorate in you
Yeah.
because it says you're racist. I'm not. Actually, I'm taking that out of the table. But if you don't understand, if it take me 3 emails and 5 meetings to make you to understand what I'm going to take your people, how high and definite different an advantage you have teaching your people behavior, we are not a match. We need to fire each other. It's not only you want to fire me as an employee or so you're consulting, I need to fire you as a customer. Why? Because it's not going to work. Your resistant is going to kill your team, and your resistant is not productive for me. So if you're not in this level to understand how science, behavior is way at some time more important than the degree that you have, is not going to work. So you can have a PhD, you can have a master, but some people has a street smart, and you need to put both. And a perfect cake, you need all the ingredients. I need people with PhD to help me to understand and read the papers and the studies they spend so much time doing. And I need somebody who has been on the street for 20 years to tell me how with the jacks they put it together and help people who doesn't have neither of those advantage to
Yeah.
become better. So you need anything on the society. Nothing is
Yeah.
worse or bad or better or whatever you want to put it. We need everything. We need to put it together.
Well, I love that. And Susan, this has been an awesome discussion. The time has flown by, and we're out of
Wow,
time.
we went over the time.
But it's been great talking there, and there's actually several other things I wanted to discuss with you. So perhaps we can schedule a follow-up discussion. I'd love to have you back on the podcast in the future. But thank you so much for joining me today. Why don't you just take a minute and explain to my listeners how they can get in touch with you and find out more about you and what you do?
First of all, you can find me on LinkedIn. This is the main source of where we publish everything. It's Susan Ibitz with a C as in zebra at the end. You can Google me. And if it's not, I would say go to humanbehaviorlab.com. That is our consulting company. And we have a second company where we're teaching people human behavior. It's the only e-learning platform teaching human behavior. And it's not because what happened now, we start working on this platform 6 months ago, but it's Human Behavior Hacker School. It's the only platform, for example, teaching face reading. Nobody else is teaching face reading online. So we like to do things outside the box because we find out that we have a tribe. I love my tribe. I'm nobody without you guys.
Okay, well, wonderful. Thank you again so much. I encourage my listeners to go and reach out to you. And Susan, I hope we can talk again soon, and I hope you have a great week.
You too, Jonathan. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.